Welcome, everybody. Hello, my name is Don Lytle. I'm the CFMHN webinar coordinator, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar. Our presentation is titled The Impact of Digital Divide on Mental Health and Wellbeing Among Patients with Mental Health Disorders. And before we get into the webinar, I would like to first go over some housekeeping items just to help to smooth the presentation process. We would ask for you to mute yourself and to remain on mute until the Q&A question section at the end of the presentation. Should you have a question during the session, please place it into the chat box or hold it until we start the Q&A at the end. As the moderator of the webinar, I will be monitoring the chat box and facilitate the Q&A period at the end of the presentation. Finally, please be aware that today's presentation is being recorded. So thank you. We're thrilled today to have with us Dr. Hua Li as our speaker. Dr. Li has worked as a registered nurse in mental health and addiction services. Working with patients with mental health and addiction conditions has inspired Hua to pursue her interests in mental health research and teaching. Currently, Hua is an assistant professor at the College of Nursing at the University of Saskatchewan. So please join me in welcoming Hua to the CAHM-FM webinar series, and I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Li.
Thank you so much, Don, and good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for the opportunity to share the study findings we did 1 year after WHO declared COVID-19 as pandemic. Okay, let's share my screen. Okay. The topic of today's presentation is about digital divide and the impact of it on mental health and well-being among patients with mental health disorders. We use the multi-case scenario. Basically, we talk to study participants through interview about their experience. The purpose at the beginning, it was just want to talk to our patient about their experience, really, and about access mental health addiction services during first year of COVID. However, after 13 individual interview, then we found that kind of digital divide was such a significant contributing factor in terms of deterioration of their mental health symptoms during that first part of COVID or the pandemic. Very strange, and let me check. I couldn't.
Yeah, let's just try sharing it again.
Yes, yeah.
And just retrying from the start.
Yes, yeah. Okay, sorry about that. Just needed to get something fixed. And okay, and here is uh, some. Here are some objectives, and we really want to know, and because this is social isolation, the relationship between social isolation and digital divide among patients with mental health conditions during COVID-19, and also to examine the major contributing factor for digital divide in this group of patients. The finally is implication for nursing practice. Here are some background information. As we all know, there is a positive relationship between social connection, support, and mental health and well-being in general population. Based on previous study, individuals with a mental health condition have a smaller social network and experience a lack of social support when compared with general population. During the pandemic, the COVID-19 related restrictions, such as stay-at-home order, had led to severe social isolation, particularly for individuals who are impacted by social isolation already before the pandemic, such as patients with mental health disorders. During the pandemic, we all know, even as any people work in different sectors, and we all experience this stay at home, work at home, right? And which really require digital technology, and such it became the primary methods of communication, social engagement, and more. However, digital divide has been highlighted during this period of time because not everyone could afford to pay the cost of accessing digital technology. Purpose of this study, again, the initial purpose was just want to know any barriers and access mental health and addiction services during this period of time. However, this study like a sub-study of this initial study. And when we find out, people who have difficulty to access the Wi-Fi, then we realize that really have a negative impact on their social connection and social support, which lead to severe deterioration of their mental health symptoms. And this study, this multiple case study, is to explore their experience of a digital divide and its impact on their well-being. Methodology, this basically, this study is approved by University of Saskatchewan Ethics Board, and operational approval was obtained from Saskatchewan. All study participants gave informed consent, and they have to be 18 years old and at least have mental health addiction or addiction diagnosis and able to provide informed consent. This is a qualitative study, and all study participants were recruited from a day program provided by local mental health and addiction services. Data collection mainly we use the individual semi-structured interview, and which lasts 14 to 16 minutes through Webex or phone. And because that is just a little bit shy of 1 year of pandemic start, which still kind of strongly, suggested to be, not in person and using Webex or phone, not direct face-to-face interview. And we use a thematic analysis in data analysis. Here are some characteristics of study participants. 4 individuals, 2 females and 2 males participated in this sub-study. All names are pseudonym and for confidentiality. And Linda is 59 years old with a diagnosis of depressive and anxiety disorder and living on disability benefit. Connie is 62 years old and retired and diagnosed with depression and OCD. Jay is 35 years old with bipolar and substance use disorder and living on disability benefits. Ed is 43 years old, working part-time and living with schizophrenia disorder. Cross-case analysis, what are the similarities among those 4 study participants? They all made social connections, build social support through volunteering and attending those day programs provided by local mental health and addiction services before the pandemic. And they all experienced the deterioration of mental health and symptoms during first several months of COVID-19, except Ed. The reason why Ed relatively not experienced any negative impact of the pandemic because he works as a delivery worker for public school system, and which, as he said, which was essential services, and that's why he said, I work every day and talk to my peers and kind of just pretty much the same. Only different is he said I just have to be cautious and protect myself. And the third similarity is social isolation was a major contributing factor to their poor mental health and well-being. Differences. And the first one is social economic status. Although Connie, who's retired, and Ed, who works half-time, and although they don't have like high income or something like that, however, their income is around 25 to 30,000 a year. However, when we compare to Jay and Linda, who live on disability, they only have like 15,000 a year, and that kind of makes different in terms of accessing Wi-Fi and pay all that, and digital health literacy. And we found basically those 2 older adult, Linda and Connie, they had little to no, any knowledge about digital technology can bring certain benefit in terms of kind of manage their mental health symptoms and increase the social connection. And they just not aware, and they, based on our conversation, they don't even have the desire to, like, okay, now because of this, right? And I need to connect with people and this and that. They have no desire. And the third one is accessing internet and using social media. And those 2 younger study participants all access, social platform and all that, and play game online with, other people. And during those period of time, and they all said it was so helpful in terms of social engagement. Making social connection through online platform. And we already discussed, younger participants made social connection through all those social platform, and the old participant didn't have internet connection and use landline phones exclusively as their primary communication device. I was very shocked, and which also kind of humble experience, and kind of you feel like we are out of touch, right? However, at the same time, feel like they just kind of literally still live the life like probably 20 years ago. Our society have made such advancement in terms of technology. However, we have left them behind so much, and they were just kind of not really knowing what is happening, and that was very shocking. At the same time, feel sad about this kind of situation happening in Canada. We're talking about the third world, and they are not able to, right? But in Canada, we still have, this group of people marginalized, older, and have mental illness. And it was just something I felt, and we have to talk about this, and this study has been published recently, just like in March, and I strongly feel, this, we needed to get this kind of voice out. And digital divide, what caused that? And first of all is a financial constraint, for Linda and Jay, and they only earn like 15,000 a year. You're talking about the rent and the food, and like a basic essential needs, right? And who has money? And Jay talked to us that I said, how much you would pay, because they live in government subsidized building, and I thought they would kind of have a lower rate, but he said no, it's about 100 a month. That's a lot, and consider they only have 12 or 1,300 a month, right? And after rent and the food and transportation, and just too much for them to really allocate those kind of money just for Wi-Fi. Before COVID, and Jay went to public library to access internet, Wi-Fi, all that. And he said, I said, I just want to save that money because I could have access to Wi-Fi, right? And the second one is age-related low proficiency in digital technology. Absolutely, they are just, not really connected with this, like progress of our society, and they just not really know, and no desire to get, any devices or Wi-Fi, and those two older adults, and the landline phone, and that's all. I thought at least you have some kind of cell phone, if not smartphone. At least you can, on the go, you have some kind of communication devices. But they feel okay. They just feel like, yeah, that's how we have been, and we don't need it, right? And because most activity before COVID, they pretty much keep themselves busy, either volunteer or go to programs. Those local programs like peer support, and you probably all know peer support, and coping strategy group, and life skill, and so on. And they just feel, that's enough. And the third thing we found is they don't know what digital technology can bring some benefit in terms of manage their mental illness, right? And also connect with their peers. sometimes if you are sick or something like that, and you still can talk to your friends, right, online or something using Wi-Fi and all that, but they don't know and they have no idea. Unlike Jay, he did access Wi-Fi and the internet in public library, and that's why he, after 3 months of lockdown, and his depression was so severe, and he started having acute suicidal ideation. He ended up in ER and hospitalized for 3 weeks. And after that, he said, no matter what, I need to have a Wi-Fi connection. That's why he connected, paid the money, and when he talked to us, he was all happy. And he said that I could connect with everybody globally. I even can help some people from Germany and Australia and people, those people with mental illness, and I can, talk to them about my own experience, kind of try to help them. And that was something we can see the divide and how that happened. Implication for nursing practice and for us, as nurses, we more so and focus on individual mental health symptoms, not really pay too much attention about their social life and how it has been, and are they experiencing any social isolation and during COVID especially, and if they need extra help. And with digital technology, and we need to assess our patient on this kind of area, not just, mostly we just, assess their mental status, right? And it's mostly and medication and the side effect, and that's kind of, yes, it's our job, right? And however, if we work in the community, even in acute care, and those kind of information, and I think is essential, because social isolation can lead to, relapse and deteriorate their symptoms. We not only should, taking care of our patient individually, and also should involve, collaborating with our community to develop strategies aimed to improve social connection and the support. And also, we need to be advocates for patient with a mental illness, and really kind of support them and to address the social determinants of disparity. And through this interview and this study, and it really kind of touched me is how much as nurses we can do to help them, not just mental health, related symptoms, rather, other areas, and also really closely related to their mental health. Limitations, of course, because back then, we can only access very limited places, and that's why, we only put our flyers and recruitment flyers in those day program. And that's why, only individuals who participated in those day program were recruited. The interview was conducted about just almost 1 year after WHO declared COVID-19 as pandemic, and which may cause recall bias and may be not very accurate. In conclusion, and there are clear benefits of using digital technology in reducing social isolation and increasing social connection. However, digital device divided as a major barrier to accessing or adopting digital technology continues to exist, and not just by cost, and also the devices and or computer or any devices. Nurses should not only involved in providing individual care, also should involved in developing policies programs to address those issues, and we also should advocate for our patient addressing those social determinants of health disparity during pandemic and beyond. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Hua, for presenting the findings from your study. I'm just going to open up the chat here to see. There's no questions posted in the chat. I have a question though to get it started. If you want to stop sharing your screen, and we can just get into larger discussion. Something that came up when you were talking about the importance of, from the patient perspective, of having access to the internet. Have you come across any literature or any government policy for supporting, especially people that are on disability because of mental illness, to cover the cost of their internet services?
Yes.
Have you? Is that a new trend? Like, is it going in that direction? Like,
yes, yeah.
Talk about that.
Yes, yeah. Great question. And Canadian government, I think, announced, I think like 2021 or 2. Yeah, I think 2022, early 2022, and help people with low income. And in Saskatchewan, and we were located in University of Saskatchewan, and in Saskatchewan, and city also announced to cover the certain area, like low income area, like Pleasant Hill, and with free Wi-Fi. And the U.S. government has also have those similar kind of program to help individual or family with low income. Yeah.
Great.
But those, those, when we interview our participants, those measures haven't implemented.
Okay. Is that outside of Saskatchewan? I knew there were some local Saskatchewan initiatives. Is there are there other provinces working to provide access to internet services for those on disability, or to supplement the costs of maintaining internet connections or cell phone connections, those types of things?
Yeah, I think several, at least when I did my literature search, and I think BC, Alberta, and I think one of the eastern part of the country. Yeah, and they have those. And another thing is they cover Wi-Fi, but how about the devices? That's another cost. Yeah, but nothing was talking, people are talking about devices, right? Either cell phone or, tablet or iPad, something like that. I haven't heard anything about the devices. However, some nonprofit organization, in Ontario, I cross, those information, and they help with, people, some, secondhand, people donated computer or.
That's right.
Yeah, something like that.
I see Anna has her hand up. Anna, question?
Yes, I just wanted to congratulate Dr. Li for the study. It's a very important issue that's coming up. I just wanted to make a comment about, I think you said it, as far as what is covered when nurses go through their basic education. I find that not just nurses, but all regulated health professionals, they don't get very much training about dealing with people that have disabilities and accessibility issues. So it's not really sort of, when it comes up, they don't really know what to do with it. And it's very hard to engage them about it. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Anna. Thank you for your question. Absolutely. And this is just, cross-board. And we are not really, even, I think, even that, in education system, and our curriculum, yes, we kind of, mention here, there about the, social determinants of health. Yes, we kind of, but not really. When we are in clinical, my own experience is like more focused on, we're talking about the biological, kind of symptoms, like how, medication, more so than address social issue. And because, especially for mental health patient, right? And the social issues closely, and if they are stressful and can lead to, decompensation of, their symptoms. Absolutely, that is something we really, really needed to address as, Canadian Federation of Mental Health Nurses, as, as something important to address, at a national level. I just agree totally.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Anna.
I'll open it up to the floor, or to any of the participants for any questions. Just jump on in, or feel free to enter them into the chat. Joe?
Thank you, Don. Thank you for the presentation. I think it's timely and it's very interesting for us to advocate for this sort of connectivity with patients, because we do know that the impact of social isolation really enables them to get further depressed. And so having this is wonderful. I think it's something as mental health nurses, we need to advocate and tapping into what's happening in our province. I'm not quite sure. I know there's a fair bit of some of that activities here in Nova Scotia. I'm not sure of the extent, but this presentation really has inspired me to be able to go out and find out more, and just to be able to get a snapshot of what's really happening across the province, not only here in Nova Scotia, but also in the Atlantic region. So thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for that inspiration to explore further.
Thank you so much, Joe. And absolutely. And when they talk to us, because they only have landline phone, right? And they were crying, literally. And our conversation lasted like 1.5 hours, because they just wanted to talk to somebody, because they are just such lonely and isolated, and they just happy to talk to us, and we just let it be. And my research assistant kind of, handed to me, and oh, this is over 1 hour. What do we do? I said, just let it be, and just let them to talk and whatever they like to. And it was just such a humble experience. And because we, like I said, I feel like we're kind of like out of touch. I thought, everybody has cell phone, connect with whoever they want to, and end up like, I said, nothing wrong with using landline phone, right? That's not the point. The point was they are just literally behind 2 decades. The outside, what's happening, kind of like a development to them. That was very shocking. At the same time, I feel like the sadness, about this group of population. They just like, there nobody cares about how they're doing, and that was like very shocking in Canada. We're a developed country, we're supposed to, right? And everybody, kind of with this movement, like advancement of technology, it's just something, I learned the lesson, and just like you said, just kind of inspired us to want to do something, let people know, spread the word.
I think that's Hua, your comment about being humbled by some of the findings. I think there's something really insightful there as well. When this type of project shows kind of where a baseline is for some of our most or least most disadvantaged, or that the have-nots, and if we take that into consideration when we make recommendations for policy or for implementation, it's a good reminder to remember that you have to make it applicable to as wide a group as possible, and those that don't have access to things we take for granted. This is a great example of that reminder to actually take a closer look at the population that we are providing services to, and having a better understanding of their capacities in their everyday life. That was something I really pulled out of your presentation. It was excellent.
Oh, thanks, Don. And they all, and these two women, and they literally went through day program every day, before COVID. And suddenly, the day program was closed. Like, obviously that's needed, and the stay-at-home order, and everybody has to. That's all they're, started talk to us about the anxiety and depression, and this thing, like dark thought. They said those dark thoughts come, and just, and it was something really, kind of touched me, and we, just like you said, we often take for granted, kind of like, if I wanted to Zoom somebody, my backs, like we Congress, this is just one email away, one text away, right? And it's just so easy. And for them, it was like uphill, so high, and not reachable.
Anna, I see your hand up again. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. I had a question, Dr. Lee, about the participants. What was the age range, and did you ask them if they had any other disabilities?
We all have, yeah, and thanks, Anna, for the question. And initial study, we had 13 study participants from around 20 to 65 years old, and they have all arranged everything that's in a table, and I think like they all have at least one, right? And some participants have 5, PTSD, and depression is number 1, obviously, right? And almost 9 out of 13 people have depression. Then the second is anxiety disorder, and that's like 6 or 7, in total. And then PTSD, OCD, and substance use disorder, we have 4 or 5, and they also struggle. And during, one patient said, during this lockdown time, and they were like, drink more, and smoke more, and that's how they cope, and that's how it is. Yeah, and most people have the multiple diagnosis. I don't think anybody, just only one I can add, he just has schizophrenia, but the rest of them at least two those mental health and addiction disorders. Yeah, and I think they are relatively high functioning. I put that way is because they are able to participate, because it's almost 1 year, and day program was open, although they can only go to 2 days, and each session just 1 hour, and they are complaining about even after the program, they were not allowed to stay. And that's been very sad. And usually before we're always kind of catching up with friends. They have long-term relationship, and they want to connect, but they were not allowed when we interviewed them. And why I'm saying that is because they are able to go there by themselves and able to participate in group activities. And that's why as a limitation, I think they're relatively high functioning, and rather than people who were not able to attend. Thanks.
Thank you. I asked the question. I've been doing training for some people with mental health issues for computer use, and
Wow.
I found that I was sort of overwhelmed because they have a lot of other disabilities. There's people with learning disabilities.
Right.
Some people have hearing issues. So I wasn't, as you were saying, it's sort of shocking to me. I wasn't prepared. So I had to sort of relook at my curriculum and consider that kind of stuff, because, if you're trying to do stuff on the computer and a person can't hear, then you have to understand all the, the things that you need to do to be able to do a Zoom session with somebody like that. So I find the sessions that I attend as just a participant, the facilitators aren't really prepared to deal with people that have mental health issues or physical disabilities. So that some of the participants have pointed out to me that that's an additional barrier.
Absolutely. Yeah, I again couldn't agree more. And our sample participants, that's what I'm saying, kind of relatively high functioning. And for general, population with, mental illness, and I had literature, and they said also, anxiety is pretty popular disorder, and sometimes people are afraid, or extremely anxious in a group setting as well, right? And which also kind of, have some negative impact on their learning process, right? And if you are anxious, probably you just cannot, take in, all the information they're supposed to know. And of course, people have cognitive impairment, and that's, challenges or something like that. Absolutely. And those are all issues when we working with patient with mental health condition. Absolutely. I just have to commend you, and just kind of have to say you did a great job, and good for you working with population with some challenges, and and make changes in your curriculum. And I'm just happy to say thank you for making such effort, and they would really appreciate that. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
And the next question goes to Joe.
Thanks, Don. I'm not quite sure. My question really was really to Anna. Can I ask a question to Anna? Thank you. My question was to Anna. You just mentioned about the teaching the those technological skills. Is this within a community program, mental health program, or a hospital program? I'm just trying to get some context within what.
I'm retired. I used to be an advanced practice nurse. And I have accessibility issues myself, so it's just a volunteer position.
Wow. Good for
Okay,
you.
so is it volunteer within a hospital or community context? That's my question.
It's a community context.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted for
Yeah.
clarity. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Dawn.
Yeah. And I really, they in their day program, they don't have any, technology related program. That I found very, kind of strange, and I really, after this study, we will write a report to the Saskatchewan Health Authority and Mental Health and Addiction Service. They provide the day program and no program. I was shocked to check their list of their program. No program related to teaching our patient about how to use computer or even iPad or tablet, how to connect with Wi-Fi or how to use those social engagement platform or something like that, right? And I found kind of a little bit strange, and I do think our study findings really we will say something about advocate for this kind of program. Yes, most younger patient they know this generation they know, but all of the 55 plus, right? And they usually live alone, right? And it's not like they live with their children and they can help them or something like that, right? And I do believe there is needs to have those kind of, just once a day, once a week, not once a week, just this group, elderly and those kind of participants and just kind of one-on-one, just they need one-on-one. I know for sure. It's they are not. I don't think is like a group setting would be effective. More so like one-on-one. First of all, they feel kind of embarrassed. Yeah, they feel like everybody should know but me, right? And also they just need kind of like one-on-one coaching on like basic stuff, right? And I think that would help, really help if they can get free Wi-Fi, because there's a government program and city program, and the only thing left is a tablet. A tablet you don't do much, right? It's not like gaming or anything. $150 should do the trick, basically, really. And cell phone, like smartphone, costs a lot, right? And usually, if you want data, usually at least $60 to $70 a month. But if you use Wi-Fi or tablet or iPad, you use only where the Wi-Fi is available. That like one-time cost, let's say $200. That usually uses 2 to 3 years. And I think that is more kind of like reasonable rather than have a smartphone. That's all I feel. However, I do think they need to get rid of the landline phone and get a phone like a cell phone, not a smartphone. No data. And data costs more. And it's just like cell phone costs like $30 some dollars, and landline phone, I don't know how much cost those days. Probably add like $10, you just have a cell phone, right? And with you, and you can go somewhere. In case you slip, fell with somewhere, and you can get out at least. I just kind of worried about that they don't have a cell phone with them, to get help or something like that. After I talked to them, I thought about a lot of things. Kind of just like, what if my parents, something, just, can stop thinking about that, those things. And really, yeah, just kind of, yeah.
I think, and I'm looking through the chat and there's no other questions. Are there any other last questions? We have time for maybe one more. And hearing none and not seeing any in the chat, this is probably the right place to end today's webinar. So on the behalf of the CFMHN, I'd like to thank Dr. Hua Li for making this event so interesting. I'm sure we're all gaining some valuable knowledge and taking away some important insights. So thank you very much. A recording of this webinar will be posted to the members area of the CFMHN website, and an email will be circulated with your certificate of attendance, along with a link to a short 2-minute feedback survey. And on that note, thank you to everyone for attending. Thank you once again, Hua, for such a great webinar, and good night, everybody, and take care.
Okay, thank you. Good night, everybody, and thank you again.
Thank you so much for everybody here.